Got a killer question today, which was, Anne, how do you help someone be nicer? And this was coming from a true place of care that this person was asking this question. And so today we're going to talk about how can you create an environment or a culture that allows another individual to slowly shift how they interact with other people, or quickly shift how they interact with other people. What are some things we can do to allow this environment to take shape, but also how can we speak to this person in a way that gets them excited to engage and change their attitude or their rhetoric. So we are looking for them to speak with kindness, speak with understanding when they are talking to teammates or clients. Or maybe this example can be in a home environment. How can we help people be a little more kind and understanding in the home and treat others with respect and simply just be a little nicer? Let's get into it. The holidays are upon us, and as exciting as this time can be, it also is a time where schedules shift, consistency is lacking, behaviors can skyrocket, depression can hit, grief usually hits, and therefore we need to be fully aware of who we are bringing as we go to work or as we wake up and engage with the people in our home. But we also need to set our RAS, our reticular activating system, right? You got to set your brain to notice what is happening to the people around you. So often we get overwhelmed with stress and we can tend to become the victim of the schedule, the victim of the busyness, the victim of other people's behaviors. And we need to remember we are the captain. You are in charge of your beliefs, your words, and your actions, and truly try to show up as your best self, even when you are feeling the stress and you are feeling the busyness, right? The first step in the impact method is to investigate. And I want you to be master investigators this season. I want you to be taking a time out in the car right after you hang up a phone call, as you are waking up in the morning, and truly think about, how am I feeling? What am I going into work with? What am I entering the house after work with on my mind? What do I need to bring to the table? And really investigate what things triggered you during the day. Investigate how you're feeling. Investigate how you are showing up. And so make sure as you go through this season, you are just hyper focused on who you're being and who you're showing up as. Now, you might be showing up as your best self, but you are noticing the busyness and the hurriedness and the stress level of those around you going up as well. And so what can we do to help people who are going through this busy season and struggling? And it might be showing up in their words and their actions with others. So you might be seeing them not be so nice. I had to chuckle when I got this question the other day because I thought, wow, you're really thinking about how a person is interacting with your team. And yet you're thinking to yourself, how can I help them be nicer? And really what you're looking for is, how can I get them to engage with others in a respectful way, showing kindness and understanding? And so that is exactly what this episode is going to be about. I am going to talk about a workplace environment. However, listen to the words and the strategies, because absolutely you can apply them to someone in your home. Maybe one of your kiddos really struggles around this time of year. There's a lot of inconsistencies. This week we only have a 2-day school week. Maybe in a couple weeks you have concerts coming up and elementary concerts, or they have a Christmas event, right? And now all of a sudden our schedules are being messed with, and some of our kiddos just don't handle that change very well. And so again, I want you to become that eagle eye and really investigate what's going on, how are people showing up, and how are people interacting. And now for some tips. You recognize that stress level is high and words coming out of people's mouths have maybe a certain tone, or have maybe a certain energy, or maybe a certain negativity behind them. And so first and foremost, let's go inward. We need to reflect on how we are using our tone. We need to reflect on how we are modeling respect and kindness, whether this be in meetings, walking around the office, as you're walking through the parking lot and greeting others, as you are telling people to have a great day, or have a great Thanksgiving, or have a great Christmas, right? How are you showing up? And are you truly being a model of respect and kindness? Now, I know that those of you listening to this podcast are truly here to work on yourselves. And so some of you do need to just take this little time out right now to really think of who you're being. Others of you are just bought in. You are so bought in on the person you can be for others to truly lead them. And so now let's talk about actions you can use with other people to create an atmosphere and a culture where people do want to reflect on themselves and become that better version of themselves. So first and foremost, you've all heard it from me before, you need to have extremely clear expectations of how you expect others to interact with one another. What this means is not only are we saying that in team meetings and discussions and as people come into your office to ask questions, not only are we saying, just a reminder, I do expect that we treat everyone in this office with kindness and respect. Set that clear expectation. And now we need to follow through. When you see someone snap at another individual, when you hear someone kind of get heated at a meeting, maybe you see somebody say, I'm done talking about this, and they get up and they march out of the meeting, right? You witness a little bit of disrespect, or you witness an attitude where you can tell this person is just not in the right headspace. I really, truly want you to confront this individual in the best way. Hey, I noticed earlier in the meeting you walked out. Can you tell me what's going on? Right? Hey, I noticed earlier when we were in the team discussion, you changed your tone when you were talking to this other coworker of ours. Can you tell me what's going on there? Right? Remember, we are talking about what we notice happened, and we are asking, can you tell me about that? And again, we are coming from a place of curiosity. Remember, curiosity did not kill the cat. Curiosity allows the cat to get very clear on what we need from this person or what this person is experiencing. Let me tell you a little bit of a story. I heard from someone recently that someone within their office was getting very triggered by other people in the office doing a specific task. And now I can't get too specific, but let's think of it some way like this. I am at work. I am doing my work. I am extremely focused and my work is going really, really well. And someone else does something that interrupts my work, causing me to pause, causing me to restart, and literally wasting my time. That's not going to make me very happy, correct? And I may be showing up or reacting in a very negative way. And that is exactly what was happening with this individual. They were truly blowing up because now I can't be productive and I can't be efficient and you are in the way of me being those things. And this individual just did not have the skills to kindly change the situation and kindly speak to the other people. However, when we investigated this situation, we truly found that the other people were in the wrong. They were doing something that was negatively impacting this team member's work ethic. They were impacting this team member's focus, and they were now impacting this team member's to-do list, because now the to-do list just got bigger. And so these other people were truly making this employee work harder and do more. And that is extremely frustrating. So yes, as a leader, we want to go talk to that individual if they do blow up and say things they really shouldn't be saying at work. We need to have a conversation with them. But we also need to be truly understanding of what is happening, and can I, as the leader, help reduce that challenge from occurring or eliminate that situation from happening altogether. And so this leader went and interviewed, right? Investigated the situation, found out, wow, these other teammates are actually in the wrong. Not saying they deserve to be berated and yelled at work. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that they needed an expectation checkup because they were not meeting the workplace expectations, which was then causing frustration to this other individual, causing them to show inappropriate behavior at work. Now, we do need to work on that individual skill set and help them use communication in a positive way to work with those individuals who are interrupting his or her workflow. But we also need to make sure to address the problem. Go to those other staff members and say, hey, when you are walking into this person's space and doing this specific activity, it is actually causing that individual a lot of increased stress and an increase in workload. And in order to respect them and their productivity and efficiency at work, I need, right? The expectation is that you allow this person to work in silence or in an environment conducive for them to do so. So not only are we going to set expectations, we are also going to find out what is triggering some of this behavior. And I think a lot of you putting on that investigator hat are going to be able to find out that some of the negative comments, the disrespect is coming from a place of this person feeling disrespected by others. And what happens when a lot of people feel disrespected? They show disrespect in return. And why is that? Because we do what is modeled to us. And so if you run into a situation where you're really wanting a teammate to be nicer and to be kinder, really get curious on why they are reacting and using words and phrases in the workplace so that you can fully understand that situation and you can assist them in their skill set in how to handle it within the workplace, but you also can get super clear on what is causing this behavior in the first place. And you also may need to help someone see a new perspective. Maybe they are not being kind or nice or respectful because they have a differing perspective of the other individual that they are being unkind to. And so really, again, getting curious, asking a lot of questions, understanding that person's perspective and being willing and open to sharing another perspective so that that person can really understand the situation in full and understand how their reaction and their words and their disrespect might be causing more disrespect from the other side, or it might be causing that lack of trust, which then we see a symptom as disrespect or negative workplace talk. Another thing to think about is sometimes people react in a way because of how they had previously been treated. So I know there's a lot of us who don't necessarily understand the reactions of other people. And it's because we all come from our own backgrounds and we all have our own experiences. I remember one of my college professors taking out a ton of coffee filters. And he was describing how each of us has a filter of a situation. And we could even be in the exact same room, seeing the exact same situation unfold, but due to our filters, have a completely different perspective following the situation. And so if you have an employee or a teammate reacting in a way that you don't understand, I need you to be thoughtful of what this person may have experienced in the past. Maybe they did not grow up in a trusting environment. Maybe they did not grow up in a respectful environment. Maybe they were treated a certain way in school that has caused them to hold some animosity towards leaders or authority or other people. Now, I am not saying allow their behavior to continue. I'm simply saying that when we get curious and we think about their perspective, it allows us to handle the situation with empathy, and it allows us to handle the situation with understanding. And maybe you won't ever understand it, but we can control our beliefs, our words, and our actions. And we also can set up boundaries to allow this person to succeed in our environment. And now I'll say it again, and I've said it in recent episodes. If an employee is not a good fit, and you've worked with them, and you've helped them, and you've set clear expectations, and you've problem solved with them, and you've been really clear, and you've been really curious, and you've gotten down to it over and over and over, and their behavior is just not going to change, then maybe your place of work is not the best fit for them. And that is okay to have that conversation and be really open that the expectation is we treat each other with kindness and respect. And through conversations with you, I've learned that you don't feel that trust and that respect in this environment. And I am working, and we are working as a company to truly bring in trust and respect and kindness your direction. And we need help building that bridge from both sides. And if you're not willing to build that bridge, that is okay. This is just not a great fit for you, right? And that is okay to have that conversation. But really, really investigate first. Have you done everything to set this person up for success? Have you been clear on your expectations? Have you modeled those expectations? Have you set up boundaries? Have you had follow-up conversations? If you've checked all those boxes and behavior is not changing, it is okay to then say your behavior does not match what our company needs, and therefore this is no longer a good fit. Another situation where you come at it with curiosity and you think about what this person needs is maybe there is a new system that needs to get set up so that everyone can thrive. I was recently speaking to a organizational company, I'll put it that way, and they told me that they have 10-minute meetings at the beginning of every single day. And the way they do that, and the reason they do that, it allows the employees to speak about problems, to speak about solutions, to go through the to-do list so everyone is crystal clear on how to move forward. And when I heard they were doing this, I said, wow, what caused you to set this up? And they said, we had so many disgruntled employees saying, well, he never told me that, and she never put that in an email, and I don't know who to call, and I don't know who's in charge of this task, and it took me 15 minutes to find out who the right person was to talk about this mistake. And it really was an issue of a system and of clarity. And so they got a system that provided clarity to every employee. They had a way of doing it so consistently. They had an open door. What do you need to talk about? What problem did you run into yesterday that we need to talk about today? Or what problem did you solve yesterday that we can help eliminate other people having that problem by talking about it today? I'm going to do another episode on this because I think this is so genius of what you can accomplish in 10 minutes, which might feel monotonous. but truly sets your team up for success. But they said that they saw attitudes and negativity go way down once people were given an open door to voice their concerns and work through their solutions. And so that might be the ticket. You might have a disgruntled employee because they don't have an out on how they can talk about certain situations. And so make sure that is a part of your plan, allowing them to share their perspective, allowing them to share their concerns, and then helping them solve those concerns so that they can let go of that negative attitude and really show up with a positive one. And my last tip for you today is always, always, always appreciate what you want to see more of. You need to make sure that when you have a disgruntled employee and they have a great day, that you recognize the behaviors you saw that day, how it made you feel, how you saw a teammate walk away with a smile, how you heard from a client that they just had a great meeting with this person. Show them when their behavior makes a difference in a good way. And no, you're not going to spell it out and make them feel uncomfortable. You're simply going to say, man, I saw your client walk out of here with a huge smile on their face. You must have really been able to help them today. A little appreciation goes a long, long, long way, but we need to give it. We need to give it out as much as we can so that people know that their behavior is noticed and appreciated. So make sure you are doing that. You want to see more kindness out of someone, model that appreciation and watch how they will start modeling it back for you. Now, I'm going to take it to a home example really, really quickly. Whether this be your spouse talking to you in a specific tone, maybe it's your teenager talking to you or a preteen talking to you in a very negative tone. I want to do a quick recap of what my suggestion was in the workplace, but I want to apply it to home life really quickly. Number one, how are you showing up? What are you modeling? So often we want to say, oh, it's my kids, it's my kids, it's my kids. But we're walking into the house stressed and frustrated and feeling hurried to get supper on and don't talk to me right now. And so we really need to reflect on how we are showing up and what kind of tone and what kind of words and what kind of connotation are we giving in communication. Number two, what is the expectation? If you have a teenager who is ignoring you, that's disrespectful. What is the expectation? If you have a spouse who is short and replying to you without eye contact and giving you one-word answers, what's the expectation? How can you word that in a way that, hey, when I'm asking you a question, I'd love to have a conversation about this. Is now a good time, right? Also look at when you're having these conversations and how it might be impacting their desire to have this conversation and their attitude about the conversation. Make sure you are setting up boundaries. If you have an expectation that there is no swearing in the house and one of your teenagers swears in the house, what's the boundary? Where have they crossed the line? What is crossing the line? And now don't yell back at them in the moment that they are heated. I hope you're gathering that from this podcast. We are going to wait for people to be of a clear mind to have a discussion about previous behavior and how we're going to handle that in the future. So make sure you are setting clear expectations, you are having follow-up conversations, but you are also setting some boundaries. That word does not belong in this house, and you are fully aware of that, right? Get curious. I notice that whenever your sister asks you a question, you snap at her. Can you tell me about that? I noticed tonight at the dinner table, when your dad was talking to you, you ignored him. Can you tell me about that? Right? We're going to get really, really curious. Is there a skill needed? Do they know how to respond when they are triggered? Do they know how to respond when they are frustrated or when they are having a bad day? Do they know how to set the boundary with you that today was not a good day? I pick up my kid every day after school, and my 9-year-old does not love to talk about school most days. And right at the beginning of the year, on like day 4, he ran up to me. He said, "Hey." And I said, "Hey, buddy." And before I said anything, he says, "Before you say anything, I don't want to talk about my day." That was him setting a very clear boundary. I need time. I don't want to talk about this right now. So then we would get to bedtime and I would say, "Hey, can I ask you about your day?" And he'd be like, "Oh yeah." Because now he's had time to process. He's had time separating from him and after school. And then he was able to talk about his day. It's not that he had a bad day. It's that I was just on for 7 hours, Mom. I don't want to be on. I want to go be myself, right? Let me go do that. And we'll talk about us later. We'll talk about how I felt during the day later. I love that for him. Set clear boundaries. But he also had the skill to say that to me. So is it a skill that they need to learn how to talk to you? Do you need to help them identify a feeling so that you can then speak to them later about it, right? Also, is there a system that needs to be set up that would cause the triggering effect? I remember I used to get home from school and my brother and I would race home as fast as we could. And if he got the remote, I didn't get to watch Saved by the Bell, right? Or whatever it was. He got to watch Sports Center and I had to sit there and I had to wait. And the system was that he got to watch TV for 30 minutes and then I got to watch TV for 30 minutes. But it didn't always work that way. There was a lot of fighting and a lot of arguing and a lot of pulling the remote out of my hand or me pulling it out of his hand. And so we had to develop a system. Our dad had to step in and say, "We're done arguing over the remote. Here's how it's going to go down." And once a clear system was given, I could go hang out down in my room for 30 minutes. And once I saw the clock hit 4 o'clock, I knew it was my time to be in charge of the remote, right? So maybe it's a system you need to walk them through. But then again, appreciate. What did they do well? How did they speak to you? If they did ask you how your day was, say, "Wow, thank you so much for asking me about my day. I love sharing about my day with you," right? What do you appreciate? Whatever you appreciate, you will see more out of them. And so if they have a day without fighting, if they set a clear boundary with their sibling, later that night say, "I heard you set that boundary with your sibling, and I just really appreciate that you did that in such a calm manner. That is really kind of you, and that is responsible of you," right? Appreciate. All right. I hope that your homes are filled with positive energy this holiday season. And if not, take that time to investigate. Reach out if you need to. I give out my email address a lot because I truly want to help you. If you are in a place of feeling stuck, if you are in a place of feeling like the victim, that's okay. Let me help you and coach you and walk you through how to look at a situation differently, or how you can truly take ownership and really captain the culture around you so that you can thrive and so can the people in your home or at work. I know what it's like to want to go to work and have positivity all around you and it just not be there. Remember, by trade, I am a middle school, high school teacher, and it was few and far between that I had everybody excited to be in my classroom. But you know what? I was the captain of that culture and I got to choose how I felt each and every day. And no, not every day was butterflies and roses, right? However, I got to choose how I reacted to different situations, and you have that power and that control as well. I am so grateful that you are here. Ladies and gentlemen, we are over 900 listeners in. I cannot thank you enough for being here and for supporting this podcast journey. If you have listened to this episode and you're like, ooh, My coworkers need to hear this episode. Please, please, please send it their way. I have found that a lot of people will say, oh, I wish I could listen, but I'm not into podcasts. And really what it gets down to is they've never listened to one. They don't know how to find it. They don't know what app to use. And so you helping them figure it out and get this golden nugget or some of these pieces of information is truly going to help them on their growth journey as well. So if you are loving this episode, I would absolutely love it for you to share it with your work bestie, with your boss, with your spouse. That just brings me so much joy that you are working together with other people to truly shift the culture around you. Know that I am here to help you in that endeavor. Go ahead and shoot an email my way, impact@annvote.com, or you can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. That's @AnnVote. Happy holidays. If you are listening to this in real time, I hope you have the best Thanksgiving and truly get to enjoy time with those you love most. Have a good one.